So here we go. All right. So now that I have my title and I click on it, notice that it comes up with that blue box around, and I can drag that, clicking on those blue buttons or the blue circles, and I can move it around. I can center it if I want to. Towards the top of it, right in the middle, there's something that we call a handle, and I can just move that around, and I know it's centered right now. So it's very easy to really manipulate it and make it what you want. So now I have a website. My website has one web page. My website's titled Disciplespace. My web page is titled Welcome, and I'm ready to customize some things. So the next thing I want to make sure I can do is right beneath my title for the web page, I'm going to click where it says Change Image. And in here, I'm not going to upload something, although you can in the future. We're going to select an image. Once we do that, we have a collection of images and patterns and different templates that are already made for you, but you can also find things that are in your Google Photos albums. You can do pictures from Google Drive, but for right now, I'm just going to pick something from the gallery. And then once I've done that, I'll hit select. Now I love what happens in the background once I pick a picture. Google Sites is trying to make sure that the contrast between my web page title and the background image allows us to actually read it. I'm sure we've all seen a PowerPoint presentation or a website where the contrast does not work well and you can't really read what's going on, and they remedy this for us automatically, which I really appreciate. The next thing that we want to see is how we can change the header type. So when we have our background picture selected, you'll notice that we also have this option for header type, and we have 4 different choices. The simplest one is title only, and that would only be the web page title. By default, it's going to be banner, which is kind of like 1/4 or 1/3 of your screen is going to be that header image. You can do a large banner that will be more like half, and then a cover would be the entire one whole scroll down is going to be that image. I don't really use the cover very often. I typically stick with either a banner or just the title only, but really this is an aesthetic choice and it's completely up to you. All right, so far we've seen how to make our web page title, how to adjust it, customize it, and now we're getting into these different tabs over here, insert, pages, and themes. Now insert is where we're going to start off. That shouldn't be too much of a surprise. And I want to show you, I'm just going to walk through a couple of the different things that we can do to add content to our web page. So in here, we have our 4 main ones: text box, images, embed, and drive. Down beneath, we have layouts, and these are maybe a year or 2 old, having this option. And so if I want this first layout, I can click on it, and it's going to have a placeholder for me where if I click that plus sign, it will tell me the different types of content I can put in there. And that includes uploading something, finding an image, putting maybe my slides in there, YouTube, calendar, and so forth. So some really good choices. If I wanted to bring in a calendar, I can select that, and then it brings in all my calendars. I'll pick this course's calendar and then insert. And so anytime we have a new assignment, that's going to show up here. Now to the right, I get this option to click and edit text. So this is a title case. So I'm going to put our classes calendar. And then I can adjust the text beneath that too. So again, it's very easy to use a layout. I would definitely start off with that. What I'd like to do, it's 4:44 right now. It's 4:45 right now. It just changed on my clock. I want to give you 2 minutes to mess around with the different options and insert and try as many of them as you possibly can. You will not break anything. That's my guarantee. But again, 2 minutes, try things out, then we'll come back together and kind of debrief on what we were able to do and what problems we could overcome. So go ahead and explore, try those things out, and we'll come back together. At any point, you can ask a question too, so don't feel shy about that.
So as you're going through, And you start, so for example, we just did the calendar layout, and then I went down and I clicked another layout, but I didn't actually like that one. How do I remove one once I've added it? Do I have to just click the little delete box on the left?
Yes, that's exactly correct. So when
Perfect.
you
Okay.
click on a layout or one of those sections, you'll notice that we get 3 menus that come up on the left. We have change the background color, copy it, or delete, and that will get rid of the whole.
Gotcha.
whole
I just
part.
wanted to make sure it wasn't going to delete the whole thing and it was just
Oh,
that section.
yep. And there's
Perfect.
also undo at the top of the screen that you can use as well.
Okay.
So in trying to add a page, I'm trying to like tailor this for a library. Specifically, if I'm trying to include a catalog page, when I go to insert new page from that main page, like what, when it's asking for the custom path, like what would that be? The link?
So we'll get into adding pages in just a minute. For right now, we're really just looking at the what we can insert on, like what types of content we can insert.
Okay, my bad.
No,
I'm
you're
used to
good.
Weebly.
Oh, gotcha. All right, so it's been our 2 minutes. I know it probably went pretty quickly for you, but I'm going to stop my screen share, and I would just love to hear from a few people about what types of content you were able to add into your site, and then also what that experience was. Was it challenging? Were you able to do it pretty quickly? Were you able to problem solve on your own? But I'd love to just hear you respond to those prompts.
When the Google site that I made for my county for our math teachers, I actually have included YouTube videos. We've included spreadsheets. The other day, I added a file from Google Drive so they can actually access one of my files
Oh, cool.
and from the site. There's just a couple of things that I've done for the site we did.
Awesome. Thank you, Missy. Anyone else?
I have one for my STEM lab, and we've added, or I should say, I've added links to sites that the kids can visit by grade level, some different read alouds that our teachers have done, resources as far as some videos that we check out before we start different units, just different things like that. And then I try to keep the main page updated with like the most recent updates for our class.
Cool. Thank you. Maybe one more person.
Well, I've never used this in the classroom before, but I was just thinking how it would be a great way to communicate with students and parents on the week that the kids are going to be doing virtual learning and not be in the classroom. So that's just kind of one of the ways that I hope to be able to use it.
That's awesome, Heather. Thank you. And I really believe that you will be able to use it for that purpose. So this is a good timing, right?
Yes, definitely.
Good. So as we look through the different types of content here on the right-hand side, as we scroll down beneath the layout, check out that we can do a table of contents. So here are the upcoming things, or what might be on that page. I know a lot of people liked when they added image carousel, so you can do that as well. Being able to put YouTube videos for, like, here's how you do an experiment at home, even if, here's how I can serve you as a STEM teacher, even if your kids are at home, by putting these experiments out there. Or here's a map of all the different locations that we would have gone to if we weren't distance learning, or whatever it might be. But lots of different ways we can leverage Google's different tools that are directly built into sites. So looking at YouTube, calendar, maps, all the Google Drive options, again, making it seamless for us. So some other things that I definitely want to showcase before we move on to pages. Any of these resources, any of the content that we put on here is drag and drop. So if I want to move my slides, I can move it and have it directly next to my YouTube video, or I can have it right underneath where it says our classes calendar. And that all of these different pieces are like a puzzle that I can drag and drop. Makes it easy. And something is never stuck where, you know, it presently is. I can always undo, redo, and make it work for my kids to best serve them. All right. The final piece that I definitely need to showcase before we move on is how we add a link, okay? So what I'd like you to do, if you haven't added any text to your page yet, you can just double click anywhere on your page, and this will give you the option of adding text. Let's do that. And in here, I'm not going to overthink it, so I'm just going to put this is my text. And when I have some text in here, directly above that, I have a drop-down menu. There are 5 different formats for what my text can look like. I'm going to pick this as a heading, and it's going to change the layout, or not layout, but the aesthetics. And then if I needed to add a link in here, it's directly above here. We get that option, insert link, or you can be super cool and do a Control-K, and it'll do the same thing. And now we can link to another page on our site. We don't have other pages on our site yet, or I can link to an external site like www.google.com, and then hit apply, and now I have my link going. Okay, so now we've seen how to add content, and we're going to move into pages and how we can add some structure to our site. So let's go ahead on the top right where we see those 3 different tabs, we'll click pages. And on my screen right now, and probably all of you, we only have one page, and that's home. If we needed to add another page, we're going to click that big plus sign at the bottom right of our screen, and it gives us a choice to add a new page, and that's exactly what we're going to do. So I'm going to call this About Me. I never mess with the advanced. You can, where it changes everything after the slash for your website, but I really don't do that, and I don't think you need to for level 1 or level 2 either. So now that I have the page name, I'm going to hit done, and now I have my second web page. What I'd like you to do next is we're going to click the 3 dots next to About Me, and one of the options in here is add subpage. So the subpage, and I'm not going to, again, not going to overthink this. It's going to be, I'm going to name this bio. Now check this out. On the right-hand side, you can see that this becomes kind of like an outline, right? Where we have home, about me on the same level, and then indented is bio. And then also at the top of my, my website, it automatically is going to do my horizontal navigation for me, where the first link on the left is home, and then it's going to build out those other top level links and give me an arrow if there are subpages, and it makes navigation super easy. I don't have to think about it. It's going to automatically do this for me. Now I know sometimes we want to build a page before our students see it. So next to where it's bio, I'm going to click my 3 dots again, and I'm going to just hide it from navigation. And this allows me to continue to construct my page about bio and not to post it or not to publish it until I'm all set. So really, this is how easy it is. I can reorder, I can drag and drop just like we talked about before. Any of these pages, if I want bio, instead of being under About Me, I want it to be on its main level. I can just move it so that it's between home and About Me. And you'll see that it's no longer a subpage. And when I unhide it, all 3 of those are at the same level. If I need it to become a subpage again, I can just drag it back into About Me, and it becomes that sub again. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to get into is our themes. So let's go ahead and click over to themes, and this is where we can give it some flair. Okay, so far all of us have the same style of text, the same layout and color scheme, and this is the tab that I like to save for the end, not just because it's the last one there, but because it will impact colors, and we get excited when we can change colors. So in here we have like 7 or 8, or we have like 6 or 7 different schemes. The basic one is simple. I use that most of the time. So when we use something like Aristotle, let's go ahead and click Aristotle. It changes the font, changes the layout a little bit. For each of these, it's going to prompt me to use one of 5 colors, but I can click that paint bucket and customize it however I want. including with hex codes. And then directly beneath where I change the color is font style. And each of these 6 different styles of or themes gives me 3 different choices for what the fonts will look like. Again, I almost always use simple, but you can make it any of these that you want. So let's take a moment to just change those around. Again, you can change it at any point. You're not stuck when you make a selection. Cool. All right. So the last couple things that we want to make sure we know how to do with sites before we move on is these different tools at the top of our page. So that very top line, of course, we have our undo and redo. To the right of that, we have preview, and I love the preview on sites. So let's go ahead and click on that. Kind of looks like a computer screen and a mobile device. And so when we do this, check this out. It gives us layouts at the bottom of our screen. On the far left of it, we can, what does my site look like on a phone? We know a lot of our students and parents are going to access our site from their phone. So being able to visualize it automatically and not have to do any code for it is pretty amazing. The next is if we're doing like a landscape with a tablet. One last thing about the cell phone one, notice that in the top left, we have a menu that has all of our pages in there. So again, does all that coding for you. And the final is we get that large screen. What does it look like if my kids are actually using a laptop or Chromebook? Well, it looks like this. To leave the preview, we click the X in the bottom right, and we're right back to our editing options. If we kept going across, we get the option of linking if it's a published site, and it's just that, it's the link, the chain link. We can add a collaborator by clicking that silhouette and the plus sign. So if I wanted my student Carter to be one of my coworkers on this, I could. Okay. And I can choose if he's an editor or a viewer. Carter is going to be an editor. And that's how we would add to make sure that we share with other people. Keep going across. We probably won't need to mess with the settings gear at all. Our 3 dots, we get things like version history. If we need to duplicate the site, we can do it from here, which can be really helpful if you are doing something with like a PLC and everybody needs to have separate ones. And then finally is the purple publish sign or button. When we click on that, this is how we can name our site. Now, I don't like people right now to hit publish until you're absolutely ready. And that's because any website name or URL can only be used once. So if in your district, you make yours 3rd grade or class site, no one else in your district is going to be able to use that name. So, be intentional, be thoughtful when it comes to what you name this. When I'm ready, I can hit publish. Now, if you're within a district, you probably will get the option of, do you want to make this an internal site where you have to be logged into your school district account? So just be aware, if you are intending to use this website with parents, you would want to uncheck that box to make sure that they can get in. Then I'd hit publish and I'd be good to go. All right. So at this point, I do want to just pause and allow people to ask a couple questions about Google Sites. Now, 25 minutes ago or 22 minutes ago, I told you that we would build a website within the next 20 minutes. And I think we've done that. But I do want to just quickly pause and be able to hear from you. What was this experience? I know it was probably pretty fast. It might be the first thing we hear, but you will get the video of this and other resources. But if you are new to Google Sites, what was your experience like?
Adam, this is Lisa M, and I'm actually not new to it. I found one I made like in 2011, 2012, which is
a little
like
different now.
Yes, and it doesn't want to convert it. But one of the things, I had like complete control over every color, font, whatever, and it doesn't seem like the new stuff lets you do that. Is that correct?
Yes, they went for simplicity over customization, which has been helpful for getting a lot of kids off the ground, I think. But you're right, Lisa.
A follow-up question from Farrell on that. Is it possible to get in under the hood and do like actual HTML coding on this, or do you have to follow the templates?
The greatest level of HTML coding that you can do is an embed code.
Oh, wow.
Yep. So very, very simple.
I was going to say from like a teacher perspective, when I was trying to get students to create their websites using Weebly, like it definitely took a lot more effort, and this was far more simplistic, like for, you know, student understanding. I like it.
I definitely agree as well. You know, I have worked with adults all over their career span. Some people who are, you know, been in teaching for 40 years or longer, and you know they've been able to make a website in a very short amount of time. I've worked with middle and elementary students who could do it, and students who have some profound special needs and different learning barriers, and they've been able to make websites too. And so if my goal is for people to be able to communicate and publish their ideas, then again, I really value the simplicity that we can turn on. And it's definitely much easier than its predecessor for sure. Good point. All right, so we're going to transition a little bit to our collaborative website. And I just want to walk through one page, one example to just kind of talk through what this could look like. So I'm going to head back to our slides. I'd encourage you to click back to our week 2 slides, and we'll click where it says our shared site. Okay, so again, a week or two ago, it looks like some people have added new pages in here. Please make sure that we move those to be sub-pages of whatever topic you're trying to do. Wow, lots of stuff going. Okay, so when we get into, is this the wrong link? This might be the wrong link. Is that what I'm seeing? Okay, let me fix that. Sorry about this. Okay, here we go. I'm going to put the correct link in our Zoom chat. Okay. So we have our Zoom chat. We have our correct link. Now, please keep in mind that the link that we're going to, all of us have the ability to edit. So any change that you make will go live for everybody. So you might notice that our homepage has been renamed, and we can always go back and make that change again. So I'm going to go over to our drop-down menu for our subpages of G Suite, and let's all go to Drive and see this page. So in here, we can see that the Drive team has added a new background picture. They've already added a new description of what Google Drive is, so that's really good. And then down in here, we can start to see that we have the challenges. So on the left-hand side, this is a challenge that I've already made for you guys. And then on the right-hand side, someone on the Google Drive team is going to add in, and I used a picture. So this is a photo, like a JPEG, and just uploaded it in here. So if I were to do that now, and I'm just going to add a random picture, I could do upload or select it from Google Drive and then be able to find a picture. So here is a screenshot, and I could post that in here. Oh, great. So yeah, I track our COVID rates too. Okay. So in here, I have my picture. Of course, I would want to make it responding to the prompt of putting in a new challenge, but we could easily drop that in here. Now down beneath, I'm giving you guys, our template gives you 4 different placeholders to be able to put your own content, but if you want, you can always go over to layout and add more in there. It's really up to your team what you want to do with it. So at this point, what questions do you all have about this collaborative site that we're starting to work on together? And I'm going to pause my, was I not doing screen share during that? Sorry. Okay. Was I doing screen share for what I just was talking through?
No.
Oh,
No.
sorry. You can always shout out and say, hey, Adam, you're not doing screen share. All right, so sorry. So on this page, we have the description. That team's already gone in and done it. We would want to put in our team challenge. Again, I'm just looking for a single picture that can kind of be pretty close to what we have here on the left, but you can customize it however you see fit. And then down below, each team will put in a few different ideas about how you might be able to use this tool in the classroom. But again, I do want to take a couple minutes to clarify any questions that you all have about this collaborative project that we're doing. And it is loose, kind of by design, to let it take whatever form the collective wants it to look like.
I have a question. I wasn't here when it was assigned. Is there an assignment in Google Classroom for this particular task?
There is not an assignment in Google Classroom for this task. Good question, Carrie. Would it help if we made an assignment just to have that kind of logged in there? In
Yeah,
Classroom?
only because is there just with due dates and then my other question is how are we accessing each other? I know the names on the other part of my team, but I joined late. I don't know if they know about me or I don't know.
Okay. So in Classroom, if you go to your people tab, does it have your classmates on there? Right.
Yes.
And are you able to contact them at all through here?
You can see their names, but it doesn't list any email addresses or anything. I think that part is only available on the teacher side, not the
Okay.
student side.
Would any of you?
I'm happy to send out email addresses to everybody. That's an easy thing. I've got a file and can send it out.
Would that be good with everyone, or are there concerns? Does anyone have a concern about their email address being within this group?
No.
Okay. If you do have that concern, please contact me and Liza directly, and we'll find another way that your team can contact you. But we'll plan on sending that out tomorrow, sometime tomorrow. Does that work for you, Liza?
Yep. Will
Okay.
do.
Cool. All right. And I do want to just make sure that we feel like that will be an appropriate amount of work, that we feel confident with our skills at building a page now that we've done our run through of how to use sites. Okay. So the next question that I have, or the next thing that I'd like to talk through together, and I really want to co-construct and make this helpful for you. Our goal is to take the level 1 assessment following our September meeting. So if we use that September meeting as kind of our due date to have things turned in, does that work for everybody? That way we can go back and look at the additional challenges that you put forward so that we can review and prepare for taking that exam. Does that make sense, kind of that timeline?
And the September meeting is the 15th. You have one on August 11th, and then you have until the 15th of September.
So a month and a half to add those few different pieces in there about your tools. Speak now. Okay. So I will put an assignment in Google Classroom and have that September 15th due date in there. And again, contribute what you can and know that we're here to support you. I see a few people in the chat saying it works. Cool. All right. So we're going to continue on at this point. Say goodbye to Google Sites. Remember, you can go back and find sites in your drive, or if you go to the product page, you can find it there too. And this time we're going to transition to forms, and we'll be in forms for the next bit.
Hey, Adam, I have a quick question. You had sent out an email saying that you were doing a session on Google Forms, both this morning and August 4th. Are you recording either of those so that we're able to see them if we can't make those sessions?
Yes, they are recorded. And if you skip ahead just a couple slides to slide 6, I have a previous recording that's on there as well.
Awesome, thank you.
You're welcome. So we're going to go ahead and look at our look at Google Forms. What I'd like you guys to do, we're going to go to forms.google.com. Okay, so you can open up a new tab and forms.google.com. So far we've seen a few different ways that we can access our Google Drive tools and how we can create them. We know we can do it from Drive. We can do it with the tool name .new. But all of those tools also have forms.google.com or docs.google.com that will take you to a page that looks like this. And of all the tools, I pretty much always take people to this view when it comes to Google Forms because I love the templates that they have. So in here, you'll notice that at the very top, it says start a new form, but on the right-hand side of that, it says template gallery. Let's go ahead and click where it says template gallery. And in here, you're probably seeing something similar to mine, where it might have your school district's name, but then just to the right of that, it says general. Let's go ahead and click where it says general. And within this, we can see probably 20 different templates that are already made for you, maybe even more than that. Okay, so in here, at first we get educational ones, we get personal, and then we have work. We'll take just 1 minute to look through some of these, and then we'll come together and open up a blank document and start from scratch. But go ahead and
So
yeah.
whenever I went to forms.google.com, mine does not look like that. Mine looks different.
Are you using a school system account or your personal? Right?
No, I'm using mine.
Okay, so yours should look pretty similar. The only difference is when you click template gallery, you'll by default be in the public gallery options. Is that what you're seeing, Heather?
It just brought me to an untitled form where I start creating questions. There is no different types. Like I don't have an exit ticket or an assessment or a worksheet. Like I don't have any of that stuff.
Are you looking, can you look at my screen share real quick, Heather?
Yes, I'm looking at it.
So you don't have the option for template gallery up in the top?
No,
right?
I just have a customized theme, send, or more.
Okay.
I don't have any of that.
I've not seen that before. Since we're going to be jumping into,
I could share my screen if it would work for you to see.
So I'm the same thing that she just described.
Okay.
Yeah, if you'd like to share your screen real quick, we can.
Sure. Share. Okay, so mine only has this, and I mean, I can make it a little bit bigger so you guys can see it better, but mine went straight to this.
If you can click where you type in, I wonder if it's because you're using a different browser than me. So up at the top where you type in your URL, do forms.google.com, and I want to see it from scratch.
Forms.google.com.
Okay. Yeah, I wonder if it's browser based. You're using Edge?
Yes, that's the default on here because it's an HP. Yeah, but I normally try and do it in Google, but I guess for some reason it pulled it up in that. So maybe I should click over and see what it does in Google.
Adam, I was in your session this morning.
And so it works like that.
Yeah.
Mine's behaving differently to this afternoon. I mean, I'm not concerned about it, but I don't know what's going on.
Okay.
It'll be fine, but mine's doing the same thing. And I think it's the school to personal. My stuff's been jumping around like crazy since I got so much loaded on here.
Well, sometimes things get a little goofy when it comes to tech, right? We know that. All right, so it seems like we do want to be in Chrome for most of these sessions. Being in Chrome will be helpful. So just kind of do a self-check as we go. So all of these templates are already built out for you, and we can definitely use them. I want to start from scratch. If you want to use a template, by all means do so, but let's go ahead and open up a form, and we're going to see the different pieces of this tool.
Adam, can you, I think part of the problem is when, because I was in Chrome the whole time, and if I went to my little like number pad, like, you know what I'm talking about, and I clicked on Google Forms through my little number pad thing,
Okay.
it brought me to the one that looked like this. If I typed in the google.forms.com, it brought me to the one with all the templates. That seems weird, but that's what it was.
Huh. Well, yeah, that is interesting. I don't really know. So it created, when you clicked from the launcher, it took you directly into make a form, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes, like if you click on the form icon when you have all of, yeah. I don't know. I just call that thing the number pad. I don't know what it is, but the 9 dots.
So many names. I call it waffle menu, but yeah, app launcher. All right. So whatever way you can get to make a form, that's kind of the important thing right now. I do like to show people templates, but it's not a need to do all the time deal. So similar to when we looked at our websites, we have our 2 different names up in the top left, the untitled form, and the very top left, this is going to be the file name in your Google Drive that you're going to go back to in the future. So for mine, it's going to be back to school 20. And then in the main part of our screen, this is what your participants will see. And by default, it's going to try to link those 2, but you can make them different if you want. So mine will be parent contact info. And we can see how these do not need to be the same, but they can be if we want it. The next thing that we need to be able to do is add a few different types of questions. Now for this session, we're not going to do an exhaustive run through of forms. We're going to do what we need to know for the test, and we have those the options of diving deeper by doing one of those other courses if you want to, or you can just run through the video that I included on our slides. So directly beneath there, we have our questions, our untitled question, and if you're using a template, you might have some questions in there, and we can start to type in a name. So I'm going to put preferred method of contact. And I want you to check this out. It's pretty cool. So it automatically suggested these 3 things for me: email, phone, and mail. And I can just select add all. And now those have been brought in, and it's automatically made it a multiple choice for me. Okay, so it is using some really cool machine learning behind the scenes to do that. If you put name, it would probably switch to short answer response. At this point, I want to click on the right-hand side where it says multiple choice, or it might say short answer for you. And we're going to see the different types of questions that we can do. So in here, we kind of have like 5 different sections to this. The first would be constructed response, short answer paragraph. You can type a whole bunch in either of those. So it's really not too limiting in terms of character count for short answer.
Facial expressions can be seen.
Continuing down, we can get things like multiple choice, checkbox, and drop down. Again, these are all very similar. Now, multiple choice I would use if I can only select one thing. Drop down would be if I can only select one item. But I would use a drop down if I have more than 5 entries that people are going to be picking through. And for me, that's really more of an aesthetic thing. I don't want to have 45 or 100 different options for multiple choice. I'd rather have a drop down and condense how long my form is. This weird one's the, is there a question?
I was gonna ask a real quick question. I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Are we able to link, for example, I think I already mentioned this for a library, but if we had like a forum where kids could recommend books, that can be linked to your Google site, correct?
Yes, you can embed it directly on there. Yep.
Awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, so then the other option that's pretty cool is we can do a checkbox. You can pick more than one option. Continuing down, we can do a file upload, and that saves it in your Google Drive. So it's a cool way of collecting things. We get some different Likert scale style questions, and then finally calendar type questions. What I'd like you guys to do, let's take about 2 minutes to add a couple different question types, and then we'll come back together. So again, 2 minutes, try out a couple of them, and we'll regroup in a moment. Okay, so we're going to come back together at this point. I have a few different questions in here. And I do want to just quickly ask you, what was your experience with being able to build a question? Were there any issues that you ran into, or was it pretty self-explanatory? Especially those who are brand new to forms, if you could respond, that'd be great.
I'm not new to forms, but I was curious about the choice for the calendar.
Mm-hmm.
Why and when would you use that? Oh, I'm looking at yours now. I see it.
Oh yeah, so one possibility might be birthday. I know a lot of teachers who do observations on their students, or administrators might use being able to tag a date. Maybe you can't fill it out when you're actually doing this, and so you could post date and be able to say, I observed Jimmy doing his guided reading on this date, and then being able to fill in the other pieces. Just an idea. All right, so we're also going to look on the right-hand side at some of these other some of the other menu items that we have. That first one is going to be how we add an additional question. And again, this is kind of that floating menu on the right-hand side.
Adam, will you share your screen?
I think I am.
You are.
Okay.
You are.
So on the right-hand side, as I scroll up and down, I get those 6 items that kind of follow me. The first one is adding a new question, and then I can go in and say what question type I want it to be. The next one allows me to pull questions from other forms. So all of my forms that I've made kind of become a question bank I can go back to. The next one allows me to put a title in the midst. So this would be, maybe I'm transitioning from gathering information about the parents to now I'm getting information about the student. I don't have any question that leads in that way, but I just give them that visual. Then I get 2 choices of adding different types of content. I can add an image or a video. Let's go ahead and click on the image real quick. So when we click on that, similar to what we saw in Google Docs or slides, we get those same 6 options of how we can add an image in here. So if I go to image search, I'm going to do birthday. And now I can find an image that goes with that concept. And it will put the picture directly into my form. The final one, we're not going to really need to use for our session today, but we will use it when we get to our level 2 courses, and that's how we add a section. And so this basically becomes an additional go to the next page of your form. All right, so within our form, we know that we can create our questions. If we need to get this to our respondents, we want to go to send. And these are the 3 ways that we can share it with someone. So if we have an email address that we know we want it to go to, we can type in their address directly here and hit send. Or I can get a link and be able to do it this way. Now I know for a lot of us, we're going to be posting things on our Google Sites or our Classroom, and those being able to post things, you'll probably want to do it through Classroom or through Sites. It will be a lot easier than getting this link, but they've really streamlined being able to put those resources in those platforms. All right, so we've seen how to share it with somebody. After you've shared your response with someone, all of those answers are going to come in as a response, and we'll get all of our data in that response tab. I'm going to open up a form, and I'll show you what my, I'm going to open up a form that has responses, and we'll look at that real quick. So I'll do this one. So back in the spring, I did professional development for a lot of educators in Virginia. I've since deleted some of those responses, but in here right now, I have 414 people who have responded, and this is what my data looks like. And I love being able to come in here. I get all of these charts are continuing to update. I can copy and paste that chart somewhere. Continuing down, this is what the Likert scale looks like. And in here we can see, you know, a lot of 5s. So I was pretty happy with how those sessions went. Again, I can copy and paste that. My qualitative or my open or my paragraph text questions are all in here like this and so forth. But I have 3 different views for my responses. I'm looking at the summary right now. I can also look question by question at how people responded. And I can go to individual and select any of the 414 responses and be able to see how person 158 did and what they thought of my session on Google Classroom. It was very helpful for what it's worth. But again, all of that information becomes very easily accessible for me. The other thing that we need to know is that once we've started to get our responses, this green button that shows up is going to allow us to create a Google spreadsheet with our responses. So I want you to go ahead and click that green button. It's going to prompt you to create a new spreadsheet, or you can select one that already exists. For our purposes, let's create a new one.
Is there some way where you can keep responses anonymous?
You would just not ask their name.
Okay.
Yep. And that's what I did with my session feedback, unless they chose to give their name so that they could get renewal credit. It was completely anonymous. So you're welcome. So once you tie your form to your spreadsheet, anytime someone submits, it will be added to that spreadsheet. So again, if you're looking at my screen, we've had hundreds of people who have responded, and they're all coming in here. And I can, once I'm in a spreadsheet, I can use a lot of powerful resources and kind of machine learning to be able to analyze this information, find statistical information, make different types of charts, and really customize what it looks like. And that's what we're going to do next. So we've made our form, we've seen how we can bring in responses, and our next step for today is to be able to get into Google Sheets and mess around with some student data. And this is fake student data, okay? So you're not gonna see any real student names. So what I'd like you to do, one last thing that I wanna make sure we know how to do within forms, and that is how we can change some of our settings. So we definitely need to do this before we transition to Sheets. If you can head back to your form, we're gonna click the settings gear, which is right next to send. And then within this, we just wanna make sure we know how to adjust a few of these things. So the first is we can make sure that it automatically collects email addresses. Again, that's an option. We have the option to make it where only people within your district can respond. Most of the time I leave that unchecked because, you know, if I need something to be filled out by parents, I want to make sure they can access it. Sometimes I use materials and sessions outside of my district, and I'd want to be able to use it confidently. We can do limit to 1 response, but kind of the big one that I want to definitely take you to is over in presentation. So when we go to presentation in here, I think that on the exam, you'll need to change the confirmation message, and they'll give you a specific thing that you'll just copy and paste in. but let's put in thank you for taking this survey, and that's it. So we're going to change it, hit save, and now after someone hits submit on your form, that's the message they're going to see. Okay, again, just wanted to make sure we knew how to adjust that part.
That option is ghosted for me.
So look,
It's ghosted. I can't see it. I mean, I can see it, but I can't click on it. The show link.
can you share your screen real quick? I'll stop my share and you can bring it up.
Can you see it?
It's coming up. Okay. So that's ghosted for you, I'm guessing, because on your general tab, did you select that they can only submit once?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Got lucky with that one.
Okay, that
cool.
makes sense.
Yep.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And
Okay. All right, so at this point, we're going to transition back to my slides. Again, we will have a deeper dive with forms next week if you want to join that VASCL session, or you can just simply watch the video that's on slide 6 and skip around to the parts that would be helpful for you, or go to the Google training resources that are linked on slide 6 as well. So check out our challenge. We won't really have time to do this right now, but our challenge, this is pretty indicative of what you might see on the exam. Make a form titled, and it'll be very specific. It's going to ask you to make a certain number of questions, and it might tell you to have one that's collecting numerical data, and you can just do, you know, a short answer response for that. And it might ask you to do one multiple choice. Okay, so just be sure that you include those pieces. So in here, it's telling us to change the submitted form message like we just ran through and add a piece of media. And we saw how to add the picture, and it's going to be a very similar process for being able to add a YouTube video. Most likely, the final step on your exam will be share it via email with a certain person's email address, and it'll tell you what that is. And you'll just copy and paste that email address in. Sound good? Cool. All right, so we're going to move on to Sheets, and I'm going to go ahead and state it's not as scary as you're thinking, okay? I know that as an educator, and I am a recovering English teacher at that spreadsheets can be scary, but this is not, okay? It empowers you. It lets you do some pretty amazing things. So what we're going to do, we're going to skip slide 9. Keep in mind that we do have our training resources that are linked there. And we're going to go on to slide 10. And slide 10 has a web address. I will post that into our chat as well so that we can easily get there. And we're going to go to goo.goal/DLDVG7. Okay, and you can copy and paste that in to your browser, and it will take you to our data for today. So when we go to this data, when we go to this website, we're going to click in the top right-hand corner where it says Use Template. And this will add it to our Google Drive. Slowly add it to our Google Drive. Okay, so in here, we have student assignment scores, okay? And there are a few different things that we're going to look at together. I think I put it in chat. So if you look for my message at 5:34, it should be in there, Regina. Cool. Okay, so we are in, we're in a spreadsheet, right? And some of the things that we're going to do with this, we're going to talk about how we get around in a spreadsheet, what are the different components of spreadsheets and terminology. We're going to look at how we can do some easy statistical formulas, and we're going to build charts. Okay, so that's where we're going. Now to get there, we're gonna go step by step, and this will really model what that level 1 exam challenge will be, and something that you might be able to use in your classroom, pretty soon. All right, so what I'm going to do, just a few terminology pieces when we're looking at sheets. Across the top, you're going to see letters, and those are all columns. Across the bottom, or on the left-hand side, you're going to see numbers, and those are our rows. When we're referring to a certain cell, we start with the column and then go to the row. So I'm looking at A1 right now, and my cell A1 has the words first name in it. Now, the first step that I want to do is click where I see the number 1. Okay. When I do that, it's going to highlight the entire row 1. So what I'm doing next is going to where it says view, and then using that first option for freeze. And I want to freeze 1 row. So again, I've clicked on the number 1 to highlight all of row 1. I'm going up to view, freeze 1 row. So now when I'm in here, I can reorder this information, and it's not going to reorder my first header, right? So with this, I would like you guys to alphabetize by first name. When we alphabetize by first name, we can click on A. And at this point, I'm going to see a little drop-down arrow next to the letter A. And I want to select Sort Sheet A through Z. And now all of my rows are going to be alphabetized by what we see in column A. All from Aiden to Walter, they're all in there. So my first challenge for you, I want you to put in H1, I want you to put average, okay? Put the word average in H1. Now in H2, we're going to start typing an average, or typing a formula. So I want you to do equals, and look, it's even prompting you that you probably are looking to do the average, right? And we are. So I'm gonna click where it says suggested based on the data, and it gives me the formula equals average, parenthesis, C2 colon G2 parenthesis. So I can either commit it to memory, or it's going to automatically do it for me. Now, if I wanted you to make it where that formula's in H3 through H21, I can either go in and retype it again and again, or if I'm clicking on H2, I might see that little blue square in the bottom right of the cell, and I can click on that and drag it all the way down. And I'm going to get all of my averages in there. So what I would like you to do now that you know how to find the average and what that formula would be, I want you to find the average for assignment 3. So go into E22 and find the average for assignment 3. Go ahead and do that, and we'll pull back together in just a minute.
Hey, Adam, can I ask a random question while we're working on that?
Yeah, of course.
To get to this spreadsheet, you used, I think, the goo.goal URL shortener.
It's dead.
It's just an old spreadsheet, because that's gone, and it's one of the worst things that Google ever did was taking that away.
It was a very sad day for me too.
What shortener are you using now? Because I'm using Bitly, and it makes me sad.
I use Bitly
okay.
most of the time. There are a few other ones. I think Shoutkey can be good, but Bitly is my go-to.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. So on my screen right now, I'm looking at E22, And I'm going to show you another way that we can do some of that analysis. So in the bottom right-hand corner of my screen, I have that Explore button. This time it's green because I'm in slide or in Sheets. When I click on Explore, it's going to come up and, well, first I need to highlight my data. But when I do that, it comes up on the right-hand side and gives me the sum, the average, min, max, the count. And look what I can do. So with any of these statistical pieces, I can click and simply drag it to the cell that I want it to go to. And now I have in E22 the average that I was looking for. Now, again, you can definitely type in and have that autocomplete going, but it's finding different ways to make it work for us. Now that we have our average of 82.15 in E22, I'd like you to go ahead and find the average for assignment 1, 2, 4, 5, and the overall average as well. So go ahead, take a couple moments to do that. At any point, if you have a question, feel free to unmute, ask the question, and we'll definitely address it together.
I had an old dog going nuts during this storm as you were showing the what to type in, and for some reason I'm drawing a blank right now as I was comforting her. So
you're doing the right thing, Cheryl.
Yeah.
All right, so on my screen, I'm in H2. If I type in equal, it's automatically suggesting average. So that is what we're looking for.
So you just typed in the word equal, and that was
the symbol equal, yeah.
I gotcha. Okay.
Yep.
As a former math teacher, you'd think I would have done that. Okay, thank you.
No, you're good. Oh, you're welcome. All right, so at this point, we have on our sheet, right, we have all of our averages for our individual students. We have all of our averages for the individual assignments, and we have our overall average of 82.21. Super simple to be able to do that. It's auto-completing for us. We can drag and take that same formula to the other cells as we need to. What I'd like to do next, we're going to look at A1 through C21. So to do that, I'm going to click in A1 and drag so that I include all their first and last names and assignment 1. You can reference my screen at any point to be able to see what it looks like and what I've selected. The next thing that I want to do is to go back to my Explore button in the bottom right. And again, I get my statistical information. I get things like how do I want to format it. But then I also get options about what type of graph I'd like to do. Now this graph's not going to look beautiful, but we can add it to our spreadsheet simply by clicking on the right-hand side where it says, has a little plus sign and a chart, and it says Insert Chart. When we do that, it brings that information, brings that data in as a chart that I can put on my website, I can put in slides, I can put pretty much anywhere. And the really cool thing about this is that as numbers change, as our data changes in our sheets, it will automatically change on our websites too. And those charts will reflect whatever changes we have, which is pretty amazing. So I'm going to go back to our challenge and just make sure that I'm hitting all the main things that we'll need. So in here, it says we're going to make a graph for the scores for assignment 4. We did it for assignment 1 instead, but it really would be that same process. So I know that we are in Google Sheets, and that I'm assuming that for a lot of us, this isn't a tool that we spend a lot of time in. What questions do you all have about formulas, about how we added a chart in here, what the Explore tool can do. What questions are out there for you right now?
I have one.
Go ahead, Amy.
On that chart, you selected the assignment that was closest to you.
Mhm.
How could we select the averages? So I'd have the student names and the averages.
Good question. So I'm going to get rid of this chart, and we'll come back to it. So if I wanted to do that, I could, so I'm clicking in A1, I'm going to drag all the way down to B21, and then I'm going to hold down Control. Oh, no, that's not. Let me try again. I'm on a new computer for me. So then if I hold Control, or if you're on a Mac or Chromebook, it might be, or on a Mac, it would be the command. And then I'm able to drag and include that. So now I've got A1 through B21, and I've got H1 through H21. And I can do that same thing for the analysis. So over here, I get histogram of overall average. And when I insert that chart, it looks like this. Once I have a chart, I can customize it. I can make it look however I want. So when I click on histogram of overall average, you'll notice that I have the 3 dots in the top right-hand corner. When I click on that, it allows me to edit, download, delete, publish, copy, lots of different things. I'm going to edit my chart. And when I do that, this is where I get the option of changing the chart type. I can change what my labels look like. I can customize colors, what the legend or axes do, and other pieces along those lines too. Did that
So
help?
Adam,
Go ahead.
to do that, would that allow me to anonymize the data, or do I need to put in a new column that refers to each student as like student A, B, C, D, E, F, so forth?
So you could anonymize if you wanted to. So I'm deleting my
You wanted
chart
to share
again.
scores with your class and keep it.
Yeah. So I can insert, I inserted a column. I have a new column C, and this will be student letter. And if I put A in column, or in C2, I think this works, and then drag that square in the bottom right all the way down through C21. Oh, no, those are all A's. If I do 1 and drag down, I think it will count for me. No. Okay, let me try again.
If you do A and then B, and then you take both of them, it'll go all the way down.
Nice.
But I don't think there's a way to make it anonymous without adding that extra column, if that's what you're asking, Farrell.
Select A and B and then drag it down.
Yeah, Carrie, that's what I thought. I just wanted to double check.
Well, sugar, it's not working for me right now, but you guys are having the right experience, and that's what matters. Okay, so there are tools that can help with that. So I've used Random Generator, and I think you can get random names. If you wanted to do pseudonyms, you could do that. Or just have every student come up with what is your superhero name and put that in there so that they know who they refer to. All right, so I'm gonna head back. What other questions do we have about Sheets right now? Please know that we will dive much deeper into Sheets, probably in our October meeting. And this will be our level 2. And with that, we'll get into something called conditional formatting. We'll look at pivot tables. So this is where we're really get pretty geeky. But for level 1, it really will kind of hang out in the formulas and making some charts. Any final questions about Sheets today? Cool. All right, so we are going to come back together at this point. I would like to just hear from a few people about what is your one new thing. We've looked at a lot of tools. We looked at 3 different tools in a very short amount of time. We've seen different skills that we can do. We've talked about instructional ways we can use some of these tools in our classroom. What are some things that you're excited to try from what we covered together today in class?
I'm a little bit excited about the page because I've got art and a lot of things to need to share in lots of information with all that stuff. I haven't even, I'm starting to think about it. It's a lot to think about.
Cool. So being able to go into sites and make some really powerful pages in there. Awesome. And what age do you work with, Holly?
Middle school.
Middle school. So maybe even have your kids go in and start making portfolios as well.
Yeah, I've been wanting to do that, so this will help.
Awesome.
Thanks.
You're welcome. Other folks you'd like to share out? I see some people put it in the chat. So being able to use graphs on sheets or trying out sites, better understanding of forms, all of those are great things. Yeah, Sites is a pretty amazing tool. Love it. All right, so at this point, I'm going to repost the address for our feedback form. I'll actually do that later this evening, okay? I wanna thank you guys for spending the last hour and a half or so with me. If you have questions, you can stick around over these next few minutes. But again, thank you guys for being with me. Liza, go ahead.
Sorry, one quick thing. I did get a question in the privately about the email addresses. I currently have a file that has everybody's email address, school division email addresses. So that was what I was intending to share with you all if you're comfortable. Again, as Adam said, if you're not comfortable sharing that, please let me know, Adam know as well. The other thing it has in the file, which I thought would be helpful to you, is it says what the position of the person is, like classroom teacher and what they teach and whether they're administrator, things like that. That was part of the registration information. So I just thought it would be helpful to you. I also wanted to just make sure that that was good with everybody. And we had an idea about how that could be, since you're using your personal accounts, the issue of how to share things if you're getting things from email. And Missy had an idea about that. So Missy, you want to share what you learned?
Oh, yeah. So the email I use, I actually don't have a personal Google one, so I just made up a random one for this class. And I have not been getting any of these emails. So while we were going through today, I actually looked in and I found the forwarding your emails to your actual email that you use. Mm-hmm. And so if anybody wants help forwarding emails, if you don't know how to do it, I can help anybody.
Thank you, Missy.
Yeah. The other thing that's helpful is there's chatting available in the docs and the spreadsheets and anything you're working on. When you're both on the document, you can chat with each other.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Well, again, thank you all very much. If you have questions, you can stick around. Otherwise, thank you for being here, and look out for some communication from me later today with that feedback form in there. Carrie, go ahead.
Yeah, my question is, I have two questions. One is about the YouTube assignment that came across. Like, is there like the expectation that we'll be doing these by a certain time and you're going to receive them from us, or these are just challenges for us to?
Yeah, they're just practice.
Okay, good.
Yep, absolutely.
Just wanted to make sure I understood that part of it.
If you have specific things that you want actual feedback from me on, shoot me a message and I'll be happy to look at it. Otherwise, I'm really treating it as this is a self-check, self-assessment for these challenges.
Okay, good. And then the other question I had was about forms specifically, and maybe we'll get into it in later weeks, but when you do a drop-down list, I have added a drop-down list of every teacher in our building, and I know I didn't type in every single name.
Right.
I somehow carried it over. So and when we were playing today, I didn't want to bring it up because it's obscure, but I just wondered if you know how to do that.
Yeah, so if you look, let me share my screen again because I keep forgetting to do that. So I'm going to go back to my spreadsheet where I have all of these last names listed, and we'll pretend that these are teacher last names instead of student last names. And I'm going to highlight all of those.
Mm-hmm.
Copy, and when I go into edit my form, so we'll pretend that this is teacher name.
Mm-hmm.
and I enter it here, I'm going to paste, and it's going to drop those in one per
Oh,
line.
wow. And it works that way for drop down option also?
Yeah, I can then switch to drop down, and it'll be that way.
Cool.
That was a lifesaver when I worked in the district with 81 schools, and I didn't want to have to retype them all. I can just
Yeah, it can be if you have a lot of options, and or if it's information that the kids like don't know readily. Like,
yeah.
what is her name again?
Yep.
All right. Thank you for everything. It's been
You're
good.
welcome. Thank you. Any other questions out there?
I had one about form.
Okay.
So I know that they've now added to where it'll lock down the screen so a kid can't leave it. Is there any way to embed like Desmos into the form so that they can still access Desmos while they're taking their quizzes?
So good question. For those of you who haven't done this before, if your students are using Chromebooks, then you can do a locked browser, and that makes it where the kids can't leave the tab where you have the quiz or form quiz going. So one tool that you can use that I think should work pretty well would be Equatio. And with Equatio, it's an extension. I'm not sure if you can use extensions in the locked browser because I don't work in a district that has Chromebooks, so I haven't really had the chance to try it. But Equatio allows you to do a lot of different mathematical equations in docs, in forms, and allows kids to do it when they're entering in their responses. So that'd be the first tool that comes to mind. And they do have a graphing calculator, and it's built on Desmos as well. So I would think that might work for you.
Okay, I'll play around a little bit more with it.
Cool.
Is that only in Chromebook that you can do that, or is that an option not on Chromebooks?
I think it's only Chromebooks, and it's only Chromebooks within a domain.
Actually, they now have it updated to where anybody can do it. It's a new add-on. It just put it up like last week.
And is that directly from Google, or is that an extra add-on?
It's in the Google form. Let's see. I think it's under your settings. I'll pull it up.
Okay. Because mine, and this is a school, basically a school account, still says locked mode on Chromebook, so I'm interested in that.
Yeah, so if you go to settings and go over to quizzes, it says lock mode. Oh, it is on Chromebook. Never mind. I thought it was all computers.
Hopefully in the near future, we'll get back to that. That'd be great. All right. Other questions out there?
Just to clarify real quick from for people who weren't here last week, there's 13 units, correct, for the Google Chrome the Google Suite that we should be working through independently, correct?
You do not have to work through it independently. If you want that to supplement, you can. If the challenges that we're doing you feel confident with, then you should be okay. If you go through some of those, so those will really feed into the first half of the exam where it's multiple choice and matching and true and false, and we'll cover that content in our final session before the exam. We have a game that we'll use for it. But if you want to take the initiative and do those independently, you can. You're certainly welcome to.
Okay, I should have asked that question last week for clarification regarding whether we should also be doing that in addition to. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Cool. Well, any other lingering questions out there? Awesome. Well, thank you again for joining me today. At any point, shoot me an email and I'll be happy to get back to you. You'll find an email from me later this evening, and have a great evening. I'll see you guys in a couple weeks.
Thanks, Adam.
Thank you. Bye.